museum as an institution all over the world are dedicated to the acquisition, conservation, study, exhibition, and educational interpretation of objects having scientific, historical, cultural, or artistic value. It is a repository of historical facts and visuals about the events and material culture of the people. They provide needed service that no other institution can provide in terms of record keeping, as well as a tourist destination and guide by presenting collected artifacts for public viewing through exhibits that may be permanent or temporary. The most common museums in the world are museums of art and antiques, where cultural heritages from thousands of years are kept. However, museums are also known to have been created to cater for aspects like natural history, war, telecommunication, and automobile. The creation and repositioning of the Nigerian Communications Commission Telecommunications Museum in Nigeria is therefore a welcome development that has been expected for a long time to be able to keep the records of items and materials that can adequately document and keep for posterity's sake that aspect of Nigeria's history and development. It could not have come at a better time than at a time that the industry is witnessing an unparalleled growth, especially in the past 10 years. It is ripe in the sense that there is much to be documented for the past 100 years, as well as the immediate inclusion of the new items that are still available as the industry grows. The museum reveals the history of the telephone and the central office switches that makes it all work. Antiquities from the Nigerian postal services like stamps, mailbags, and so on in that section. Exhibits from 1895, starting with a model of 1895 telephone equipment to the modern phone that we all take for granted today. This is to project and showcase the various stages that the Nigerian telecommunication industry has gone through since inception to date. The telecommunication artifacts in the museum are arranged in the order of historical development in Nigeria, that is, from postal to telegraph, from telegraph to analog, and analog to digital telephone. Done. Post office counter is the window of NIPOST or any other postal establishment. Post office counter is where transactions are made. For example, selling of postage stamps, registration of letters, delivery of registered mails. This wooden post office counter dates back to 1852 when postal services were introduced in Lagos by the British government. Drop bag fitting. Drop bag fittings are well-constructed metal devices fitted in mail bags where large postal packets and parcels are sorted according to their destinations. This came into use in the late 19th century. Sorting rack. This is a wooden or metallic frame with rectangular pigeonholes for handling of outbound, inbound, and local correspondences going to private mail bags and are all separated or sorted and kept in the rack awaiting final delivery to their respective addresses. This wooden frame was introduced when postal services were introduced to Lagos in 1852 by the British government. Old mail bags. Old mail bags dates back to 1863. It was first made of leather sachets for free delivery service letter carriers to carry mails before the advent of parcel post in 1913, and in 1973, leather sachets were replaced with canvas ones. Grand T key. This is a type of conventional door lock key designed in T-shape and used to lock mails in their wooden box housing, and it dates back to 1852 when it was used at the Lagos Post Office. 511A letter scale. The 511A letter scale is a low-cost mechanical postal scale manufactured by Salter in England for use in the mid-20th century. The key features of the scale include angled dial face for easier readability and ribbed letter platform to provide stability for weighing cylindrical passes. Salter scale improved dynamometer. This is a 1920s brass-faced dynamometer manufactured by Salter and made in England. It has a cast iron body with 4 large springs and 2 large apertures for fixing to the wire guide ropes. It was used to measure the weight of big mail bags and other postal items in the post offices. It was also used to measure the stress of strength on wire ropes on a huge industrial land crane. The brass face is calibrated in 25 lb units to 4,500 lb and is marked Salter Improved Dynamometer. Arnold Precision Scale. This is a mid-20th century Lankwood brass bean postal airmail letter balance called Arnold Precision Scales used to weigh airmail postal mails. It is a product of Red Hill, Surrey, England. Balance Spring Scale. The balance spring scale apparatus is simply a spring fixed at one end with a hook to attach an object at the other. It works by Hooke's law, which states that the force needed to extend a spring is proportional to the distance that spring is extended from its rest position. Therefore, the scale markings on the spring scale are equally spaced. The first spring balance scale in Britain was made around 1770 by Richard Salter of Bilston near West Bromwich. Post Office Guide. This is a printed item in the form of books sold or given to customers as a guide meant to inform the customers about the types of services offered by the postal service of any country. The Post Office Guide also has the post office box addresses and private mail bags of every individual, private and public companies or organizations in the country. It was put in use in the early 20th century. Ideal Office Reckoner Book. This was introduced in England in 1908. The Ideal Office Reckoner describes the rising by pence to £3, published as Rising by Pence to £3, London Gall and Inglis. It has tables of discount, interest, wages, and foreign money. It includes year, calendar, etc. Stamp Album. The stamp album dates back to the early 1900s and it is a book, often loose, leafed to allow for expansion, in which a collection of postage stamps may be stored and displayed. Albums are the nearly universal means for keeping stamps, used for both beginners and world-class collections, and it is common to characterize the size of a collection by its number of albums. Express Delivery Dockets. Express Delivery Docket is a paper statement that will match the goods delivered. It is a fast and economical delivery service that offers guaranteed next business day delivery of postal parcel when sending it through the Express Post Network. It came into use in the late 1860s. Money Order Paid Journal. A money order paid journal is a paper statement which takes into account all the money order transactions. Money order is a payment order for a pre-specified amount of money. Because it is required that the funds be prepaid to the amount shown on it, it is a more trusted method of payment than a check. The money order system was established by a private firm in Great Britain in 1792. By 1836, the Post Office noted the success and profitability, and it took over the system in 1838. Post Office Savings Bank Rules Book. This is a saving bank book which contains the rules and records used to record bank transactions on a deposit account in a post office. It was introduced at about the same time as the Money Order Paid Journal in 1836. Postal Order Stock. A postal order stock introduced around 1836 is a written order for the payment of a sum to a named individual, obtainable and payable at a post office, which is always documented in a postal order stock book for record-keeping purposes. Imperial typewriter. A typewriter is a device that prints letters one at a time on paper using ink when the user presses keys on a keyboard. In 1902, American inventor Hidalgo Moyer arrived in Leicester carrying his handmade model of what at the time he considered a revolutionary design of typewriter. A local businessman, Mr. J.G. Chataway, was persuaded to finance the opening of a small factory in Garton Street, Leicester, where the Moyer Typewriter Company could develop, manufacture, and market their new machine. The main aim was to produce a workable typewriter that would sell for 5 guineas. Thus, he achieved, but the machine was uneconomical to produce and not very successful. An improved second model was also unsuccessful. By 1908, Moyer needed more financial assistance for the company to survive. Two local businessmen stepped in to back a successful third design, which became the Imperial Model A. Thus, the Imperial Typewriter Company came into existence to become one of the world's leading typewriter manufacturers. Different models of the Imperial typewriter were manufactured. Pitney Bowes. On April 23rd, Arthur Pitney and Walter Bowes merged to form the Pitney Bowes Postage Meter Company, with the goal of producing a machine that would combine Pitney's double locking counter with Bowes' system for wrapping postage payments, postmarking, and cancellation. The United States Post Office approved their postage meter on August 25, 1920, and between 1922 and 1923, their product began to sell internationally. Pitney Bowes Hand Operating Machine. In 1902, Arthur Pitney patented his first double-locking, hand-cranked postage stamping machine, and with patent attorney Eugene A. Brumler, founded the Pitney Postal Machine Company. In 1908, English immigrant and founder of the Universal Stamping Machine Company, Walter Bowes, began providing stamp canceling machines to the United States Postal Services. Leather cash bag. Leather cash bag. This is the original leather postal messenger bag. It is oil-tanned leather, and it was used by U.S. postal workers to carry mails from 1868 to the 1970s, when they switched over to the blue nylon bags. They are hand-oiled, hand-stained, hand-riveted, and sewn in the techniques of old. It was made to get better and better as the years go by. Lead seal presses. Wax seals have been applied to official and other documents for over 1,000 years. The seal die that is pressed into the sealing wax is called a matrix. Modern discussions of medieval wax seals make references to seal presses. The earliest seal press design to emboss a seal onto paper rather than wax that we have identified was made in 1782. Skeleton date stamp. Now, this skeleton date stamp was used when the previous first type date stamp had been sent for recutting and was made up from movable letters in a skeleton frame. The date stamp is also known and usually come in 5 basic colors. The skeleton is in fact dated 1st November 1845, but the skeleton date stamp was suggested has been known between 29th October 1845 and 10th November 1845. Felt stamp. This is commonly found in office supply stores and post offices. They consist of a thick felt base covered with fabric black, blue, green, red, and purple. The basic supply for any die-hard stamp artist is the stamp and ink. In 1880, B.G. Vogler pioneered stamp pads when he poured the gelatin into boxes and covered them with felt. By 1908, he perfected a formula for quick drying, non-smear ink and eliminated the odor. Today, there are many different kinds of inks and stamp pads sold on the market, among which is the felt stamp pad, commonly found in office supply stores. Rubber stamping pad. A stamp pad is the device that has ink for the rubber stamp. Rubber stamps are considered a marking device. Ever since the first person that put stamped image to paper, rubber stamping has gone through thousands of changes and uses. Rubber stamping pad was first used in 1866. This was when in 1866, James Orton Woodruff started experimenting with a vulcanizer, trying to make some letter molds. And after his experiments with the dental port, the first quality rubber stamps were created. The first major place to use the stamps was the US Post Office. By the year 1938, the Post Office had over 170,000 rubber stamps to hand cancel the mails. Fire blankets. Before fire extinguishers were invented by George Manby in 1813, fire blankets were used for over 100 years before 1813 to put out small fires. A fire blanket is a safety device designed to extinguish small incipient fire. It consists of a sheet of fire-retardant material which is placed over a fire in order to smother it. Various types of fire blankets are given below. Small fire blankets, such as for use in kitchens and around the home, are usually made of fiberglass and sometimes Kevlar, and are folded into a quick-release container for ease of storage. Large fire blankets are for use in laboratory and industrial situations and are often made of wood. Now, these blankets are usually mounted in vertical quick-releases cabinets so that they can be easily pulled out and wrapped around a person whose clothes are on fire. Hurricane lamp bulb, also called tornado lantern, is an oil lantern having a glass chimney with a perforated metal lid that permits the egress of air but protect the flame from high winds, and used usually on shipboards and to mark outdoor construction projects or outdoor activities. The invention of the hurricane lamp dates back to 1780 when Francis Pierre Aime Argand, son of a Swiss watchmaker, was struck with a bright new idea. He invented an oil lamp with a glass chimney and a control knob. He realized that a cylindrical wick which allowed air to flow both through and around it would produce a brighter light. Whale oil or olive oil was typically used as a fuel for the new lamp. Bag opening scissors. This is a cutting instrument for paper, cloth, bag, consisting of two blades, each having a ring-shaped handle. They are so pivoted together that their sharp edges work one against the other. No one knows who invented the first pair of scissors. However, scissors were probably invented in ancient Egypt in 1500 BC. They were spring scissors with two bronze blades connected at the handles by a thin strip of bronze. Standard rapid machine. These are addressing machines used to print names and addresses on newspapers, mailing labels, envelopes, form letters, and other items. The earliest addressing machines appear to have been used by publishers of periodicals, among others. These machines eventually led to a considerable savings in clerical labor for other companies with a large mailing list, such as insurance companies and companies that use direct mail advertising. The earliest known patent for an addressing machine was awarded to a Canadian, Robert Dick, in 1859. Iron weight. This is a metal weight used in the field by state and local weight and measures officials in the examination of weighing and measuring devices used in commerce, and also used to weigh postal parcels from 1860s. Ancient Greek and other civilizations invented the early iron weight. Scanner LP900M. This is a desktop electronic mail scanner for mail and parcels up to 2.5 inches thick, which is about the size of a standard telephone directory. This model by the company Scanner Security Systems Limited, London, England, was made in 1977.